returned to Strathcarron after a break in the trail to complete the final section from Strathcarron up to Cape Wrath. It's a good place to take a break because you've got the train line that comes in here. Here I am on the station at Strathcarron, and you've also got the Strathcarron Hotel there if you want to treat yourself to a bed and a hot shower or have a meal. And according to the guidebook, they allow you to camp in their grounds of the hotel with permission. I don't know, there may be a small fee to pay, I suppose. But I'm not doing any of those today. I travelled up by plane from Manchester to Inverness this morning. All went very smoothly. Caught the train from Inverness to Strathcarron, and it's about 3:30 in the afternoon now, so I'm planning on getting about 3 hours walking for the rest of today to get underway and then set up camp for the night. Unfortunately, as you can see, it's a pretty grey, cold, miserable day, so not a very pleasant start, and the forecast suggests it's going to be raining today, overnight and tomorrow, but then should be improving. So I'm not stopping at the hotel here, but route takes me on up the road here, heading northwest for a short way on the road. So I've been going a bit over an hour now out of Strathcarron. The weather's still pretty damp and drizzly, but it hasn't got any worse, and I'm on a nice path now, so I thought I'd just have a bit of a chat about my plans. As you know, I split the route, the trail at Strathcarron, so this is the second half. The first half, Fort William to Strathcarron, was about 90 miles, and this section, Strathcarron all the way to the Cape, if successful, is about 140 miles, and I've planned it out over 12 days, although the first and last days aren't full days walking, so I suppose it's equivalent to about 11 days actual walking, spread over 12 days. The route out of Strathcarron is a very nice, easy, gentle start. It's alongside a river on a track which is clear and flat, short bit of road walking, and then it's turning along this big wide track here. But we're starting to get out into more remote countryside now. As you can see around me, we're getting up towards the hills. I always have a mixture of, at the start of a big trail, a mixture of some excitement. Obviously I've been planning this for the best part of a year, but also some trepidation. Sometimes when I look out at the hills, and one knows about Scottish weather, and you think, I'm going out there all alone with just my kit on my back, it can raise a little bit of anxiety, but in some ways that's the challenge and the excitement. And I find once I get into it, actually the nerves disappear and the enjoyment hopefully kicks in, although depending on the weather it may not always be so enjoyable. The public footpath has just signposted me off this way, So this will be the longest solo trek I've done. I did do 18 days trekking in Nepal, but that was fully supported with Sherpas carrying all the gear, all the food, all the water, so really one was spoilt. And it's only when you do it solo you realise how much planning and gear you have to carry: food, water, first aid, clothing, tents, sleeping bag, all on one's back. So this 12-day trip will be the longest yet. We'll see how it goes and I'll keep you posted. Let's just have a little bit of a look around at the countryside here. That's the road down there and the river slightly beyond, and those misty hills are where I'm heading. Right, well, good morning. I had a change of plan yesterday evening. The rain got heavier and the wind got stronger, and I came to this lovely bothy here, and I thought I'll have a look inside, and I went in and there were some people in there with a lovely log fire going, and so it didn't take long to decide I think I'd rather spend a night in the dry by a log fire than camping out here in the wind and the rain. And I think it was a wise decision, because in the night the wind got up quite strongly. I could hear it rattling the windows. This morning I'm up. It was raining first thing, but it looks like it's brightening up now, and the forecast certainly says it's going to be improving. So we'll see. This is where I'm heading. The plan for today, I would have originally was planning on going another couple of kilometres up this river valley. You can see here's the river gurgling along. So I'm not far off my planned stop. I have got an extra couple of K to do today to get to Kinloch, but I'm hoping that won't be too arduous, and if the weather brightens up that could be very nice. And I've got a campsite booked there and dinner in a hotel, so I'm a bit of a life of luxury. Speak to you later. This is where I was planning on camping last night, just by this loch, which is a lovely setting, and there is a little bit of flat grass here which would probably have done just about, because most of the rest of the hillside, in fact all of the rest of the hillside, is covered in bracken. The only trouble with this camping here would have been that the water level, as you can see, is very high after last night's rain. In many places the path I'm walking on is become a river, and if you look here, the path route actually here is completely submerged, and then it comes here and just for a short bit is out, and then again this is where the path is heading. So it's pretty wet underfoot, but fortunately is drying out, hopefully, and the weather looks set fair. So I think I made a wise decision to stop at the bothy last night, and it was a great bothy experience. In the end there were 9 of us, including me, but a friendly crowd made me a brew, boiled up some water for my evening meal, and all went to bed about 9 o'clock, so it wasn't like they were a noisy crowd drinking whiskey, and went on their way this morning. Just one other person on the Cape Wrath trail out of the 9, well, me plus one other. The rest were just serious Scottish Highland walkers. So a bit later setting off than I'd planned. The route heads up there and then turns right and eventually over to Kinloch. I've reached the highest spot. Well, I've just passed the highest spot for today. So through the Beelach, it was a steady climb up, but nothing too strenuous or arduous. I've been going about 3 hours from the bothy where I slept last night. That's the view down to Glen Torridon down there, and the Ling hut, which you won't see in this misty conditions, but it is down there. But that's not the way I'm going, because after that the proper route heads up the other side there, and the advice in the guidebook is that that's pretty tough and strenuous and arduous. So I'm going to actually be heading off to the right along here in a bit. There is an alternative to go down to the Ling hut where you hit the road along Glen Torridon, but then it's a long road walk. You turn right on the road to Kinloch. So that's where I've just come down from, the high spot. I didn't record there because it was very windy up there, and as you can see from my dress, I've got my quilted insulated jacket on and my hood up. So it's quite chilly and it's quite windy, but fortunately it's not raining, although the clouds look quite threatening over there behind me and around. But hopefully, if the rain stays off, I don't mind it being a bit chilly and windy. So let's head off and continue. I've arrived at Kinloch and I'm staying at the campsite tonight. I'll tell you more about Kinloch tomorrow morning and give you a little bit of a view of the campsite. But I got here later than anticipated, and I had a 7 o'clock booking in the hotel, the pub, for dinner, treating myself, and only got here about 6:45, so I had to rush off to the pub, which I've done and eaten and had a beer. But now I'm going to get the tent sorted out and get to bed. So there's the tent over there, and I'm now off to bed. Let's have a look at where I've been over the last 2 days. So started here in Strathcarron, arrived at the station, and from there it was that short walk up the road and a lovely walk along here, along the River Carron. Nice gentle start and flattish. Leave the river and go up to the road, then about 1 kilometre along the road to here. You can't really miss it, and then you turn north. And this is when we might say the proper walking starts, but it's a lovely gentle sort of road up here, well, not road, track, sorry, up the valley following the river until we came to the bothy. So that's where I spent the first night, and the next morning, day 2, continued on up the valley to here. This is where I had thought I might spend the first night, a couple of kilometres further on by this loch, but because it wasn't very pleasant and there was a nice log fire in the bothy, I stopped a bit earlier, carried on round here. So the walking up to about here is all very easy. From here on it gets tougher, it gets steeper, really quite steep and difficult up here, heading up towards the Beelach here. That's the Beelach. It was very windy and quite chilly and cold up there. Then the path, the trail wiggles around a bit, and at this point you have to make sure you head off down here. Where the map just shows the trail as single dots, it means there's no visible path, so you have to just find your way down there. And then the main trail continues on down here, heading north down to the Ling hut, and then goes up the other side. But that's the bit I didn't do, so retreating back to here. You can see there's a path off, but again it's just red dots, meaning there is no visible path, and this bit was very tough. Yes, there was no path, and it was very difficult walking. Heather, stones, holes in the ground, slipping, falling. Really very unpleasant and very slow along this bit for about 1, 2, 3 kilometres till about here, and then a path does reappear, leads down to this here, and then you go turn right at that point, follow the loch along for a bit, and then the path goes up into the woods, and at this point it actually joins up with one of the other alternative routes coming in from the south here, and both of those routes join up and head due north, and then we go off the edge of map 1 here, so we'll zip over here and re-pick it up. Here we are coming in, and this is just a wide open track, quite a long way. It goes on and on and on and down and down and down and down, really quite a bit tedious, really. And then down about here, it turns, instead of following the track along the riverside, which is supposed to be rough and boggy, headed down to the road and had the last couple of kilometres heading in here to Kinloch, but that was quite convenient because it brought me in right by my campsite, which is there. So that's Kinloch and the campsite. Good morning, and what a truly good morning it is. Just look at the beautiful sun and the hills over there, and if you listen carefully you can probably hear, well, that's a car going by, but a cuckoo has been going all morning, and so I didn't do a lot of filming yesterday, especially in the afternoon, because, well, 2 reasons. One, it wasn't very pleasant weather, it was raining. My hopes that the day would improve were ill-founded. Squally showers blew through, and so I didn't want to get the camera too wet, and in any case the scenery wouldn't have looked very attractive in the shade and such like. So and then the other reason was that I got a bit behind schedule. It was a tough route yesterday. I took a cross-country route. I'll show you on the map, but it was there was no path. It was covered in bracken, and there were holes that you could put your foot down for ankle snapping, holes that you could easily fall into. So I got behind schedule, and that meant I had to really leg it a bit towards the end, because I had a dinner booking at the hotel here. And where's here? Well, I'm in Kinloch, where I arrived yesterday, and I've treated myself. I'm staying at the campsite, so we just go along and have a look at my tent and just show you a quick look round. It's a very nice campsite if you want to have a break here. So that's my tent with the sun just coming onto the roof there, but it's only a small site for tent. There's just 2 in this pitching area. There are some other pitching areas up the further end, but I think there's only about 10 in total. So if you do want to stay here, you're going to have to book. And the rest is these great motorhomes and things, but it was incredibly quiet. It's a caravan and camping club motorhome place, so they're all very polite and conscientious, so very quiet, very well maintained site, and very friendly staff. So just to show you, that's the laundry room, a full laundry if you wanted to wash your stuff, and a drying room, which is very useful for free. So you can just hang your clothes up and so on. I've got some stuff up there in there at the moment drying, and then up there, but it's shooting into the sun so you probably won't see it, is the toilet block and shower block, which again very nice and clean. I've set off from Kinloch campsite a bit later than I would have liked, but I wanted to wait for the post office to open to buy a couple of postcards for the granddaughters and write them and send them off, and bought a few energy bars and chocolate bars from a rather unfriendly man in the post office. But it would have been nicer in a way to get away earlier, because it was just glorious day. This is the sort of day that makes walking in Scotland all worthwhile. Just have a look around at this scenery. I mean, it's just, that's the track I'm on, and then over that side, just beautiful. And you can't really see it much, but just down there I'm walking alongside the river. So I think the plan for today, given it's such nice weather, is I might try and do a long day, and maybe eat late afternoon my main meal, and then carry on maybe till 8 o'clock or even a bit later, and get a bit more mileage in if the legs will stand it, because this is just perfect walking weather, and the forecast after today is a bit dire. So if I can get more miles in pleasant walking weather, then I've got less in wet and horrible weather. Legs are feeling a bit stiff at the moment, but I've only just started after that speed walk at the end of yesterday, so I'm hoping they'll loosen up. Probably the main problem today actually will be overheating. I'm just in a t-shirt on top. I think I may well change into shorts down below, although then there's always the danger of ticks. So, oh, there's the river. You can see it a bit better now, just flowing along there. Well, yesterday I didn't take many video shots because of the weather. Today it feels like the exact reverse. It's just such beautiful scenery, beautiful weather. Just look at those hills, look at that sky, and hear the sound of the river. We're in Glen Namoose, I think that's how it's pronounced. About a couple of hours out from Kinlochew, and heading steadily uphill on a very clear sort of 4x4 track. And you can tell the weather has changed a lot. I've got the sunshades on, sun hat, sun cream, and even down here got my shorts on now. So just have to beware of ticks, but this is good walking weather, except I'm having to drink a lot and fill up the water bottles, so I'm just about to do that here. So I've just stopped for a bit of lunch. It's about 1:30 now. I'm about 10 kilometres out from Kinlochew, and as you can see the weather remains glorious and the scenery equally so. Just talk a little bit about my lunch. I don't stop for lunch if it's bad weather or raining or windy, but today is a lovely day, and so it's good to stop, and it fits my plans well, because if the weather stays like this, I'm hoping maybe to have a longer day, so have some lunch, stop later for evening meal, and then do another couple of hours walking before pitching the tent. So to have a lunch is quite important. I probably wouldn't do that on energy bars. So let's just have a look at my eating sort of system. So there's my little stove bubbling away, just a lightweight camping stove, and what I have for my lunch is is these mug shots. They're not proper official camping food, but they're fine for a lunch. They're either pasta or noodles, a bit like pot noodles, but the advantage of these is they don't come in a pot. If you have a dozen or so pot noodles, it takes up a lot of space in your pack, and the pots are quite likely to crack and then spill their contents, and also you then have to take all the pots out in your refuse sack, whereas these in a nice lightweight paper pack, it's easy enough to carry out. So the noodles go straight into the mug. Here's my spoon, and then pour the boiling water in up to the brim. Not quite enough there, but that's not a problem. I'll top that up. Stir, leave for 5 minutes, and there's lunch. So it's quick and easy and lightweight. Just while I'm talking about kit, here's another innovation. I've got this, well, not innovation, but a new thing for me. One of these folding seat mats, very lightweight, and it's just really great. You just whip it out. I keep it in an outside pocket, whip it out when I get to somewhere like this, and if it's a stone you're sitting on, it softens it. If it's damp ground, you don't get wet, and if you're at the campsite, you can kneel on it when you're cooking or setting up the tent. And also, while we're still on kit, for my water I have 2 bottles. This one is just straight from the streams. I try and pick streams which are fast flowing, and I only use this when I need to boil water, like I've just done now, for lunch or dinner or tea or coffee. And then I have a second one here with a white tape on, so I know that's what I might call clean water. That's been filtered, or in this case it was filled at the campsite this morning. So that's my drinking water, and the other bottle is for boiling. And when I bring it to the boil, I just simmer it, turn the gas down and simmer it for a minute, which barely uses any more gas. Boil it for a minute and then it should be safe. Not a bad spot to spend the night, by the side of Loch Nid. The only sound is the rippling water and the cuckoo, which goes occasionally. You may hear it. So this is the surrounding scenery. It's dusk now, it's coming up towards 9 o'clock, so there's no sunshine, but you can just see what stunning scenery and grandeur there is here. It's been a glorious day. The sun was shining all the time, so it was good weather-wise. I'm not sure if it's going to last. I didn't quite make the progress I was hoping to. I got to where I was planning on, Loch Nid, but I had sort of secretly hoped that with my plan to eat dinner about 6 o'clock I could then walk on. Well, I did stick to that, but I hadn't made enough mileage, so I got here about 8:20, and this was just such a lovely spot. Lovely flat grass, almost like a lawn by the side of the river, and then leading down to the loch, that I thought, that's it for today. It doesn't look as though there's many good clamping spots if I carry on until I go another 4 or 5 kilometres. So I've eaten, I've got the tent up. There are 2 other people in tents at the far end, but otherwise complete isolation. So this is my first proper wild camping night, because the first was at the Bothy and the second was at Kinlochew campsite, and this just feels totally different. This is proper wild camping. So I'll speak to you in the morning. Let's have a look at today's trip. So I started here in Kinloch. There's the camping site I was at. So it was a shortish walk, half a kilometre along the road, past the post office, which is about there, and the hotel. Then turned left up this narrow road, through an iron gate, and then we go all the way up. This was just the beautiful walk, lovely track, pretty flat, smooth, and lovely countryside on both sides of the valley, and a river running along the bottom. And that goes all the way up here to what they call the heights of Kinloch, although it didn't seem very high to me. I'd barely gone up. So then it branches off to the left a bit, and you do start going steadily uphill, up here. So that's where it's going, up to here. And then this is somewhere about here I had lunch, can't remember exactly, but stopped for lunch. And then it continues going on up and up and up, and then a sharp right. And this is where it starts getting difficult. As you can see on the map, it's just a series of little dots, and that tells you there's no visible path. And usually the reason there's no visible path is it's such difficult walking that a path simply can't be established. So this afternoon sort of section was very hard, very slow, very long, and it goes all the way along here. It is gently downhill, that's the one good thing. And then it continues off the edge of the map, so we go over here to number 4. So here it is coming in. You can see it's still dots all the way down here. There's occasional track, and then it's running down the river. There is somewhere about here a Stalker's Path, it's called, which if you can pick that up, which I did, makes life a lot easier, and in fact that does improve things a lot. Down here. And then I camped about here. That's where my tent is tonight. That's the end of episode 1. If you want to continue on the journey with me, go to find episode 2 on my YouTube channel, Crawf Outdoors. If you enjoyed watching, please give me a click on the like button. It helps to grow the channel. So see you in episode 2. Thanks for watching.